Good evening and welcome to Daily News Simplified. So in today's edition, dated 10th of May 2024, we are going to discuss the following articles with respect to your civil services examination. From the mains point of view, we have taken two articles, the first one being inspired by a news about the functioning of National Green Tribunal and the second one being about the various economic models. From the prelims standpoint, we have taken the following articles, the first one being with respect to Interpol's blue corner notice to a certain politician who has moved away from India. Then we have taken an article with respect to PM Economic Advisory Council. Then there is an article, there was a picture with respect to Periyar River, and we have framed a very nice question with respect to your prelims examination. And lastly, we have taken two more MCQs with respect to government securities and ocean floor mining, which have been news in the Indian Express of today. So without further delay, let us begin our discussion. So the first article is inspired by a news given on page number 6 of today's The Hindu newspaper. So the news reads that polling booths in forest area, National Green Tribunal seeks Assam government's reply. So the context of this news is that because of ongoing elections, the state government machinery had started constructing certain impermanent structures within the schools and within the premises of wildlife sanctuary. What is the wildlife sanctuary in question? The name of the wildlife sanctuary is Sonai Rupai Wildlife Sanctuary, which has been located on the map for you, right? So what is the role of NGT here? NGT has asked the question from the Chief Secretary of the state government that why have you started constructing certain structures in the middle of the wildlife sanctuary? Now this article or this news can be correlated to our GS paper 2 syllabus, in which functioning of various tribunals is given, and also in our GS paper 3 mains, in which questions have been frequently asked with respect to environmental legislation. In past, there has been a question that how far do you agree with the view that tribunals curtail the jurisdiction of ordinary courts? In view of the above statement, discuss the constitutional validity and competency of tribunals in India. So in the same spirit, we will understand the historic background of National Green Tribunal, how it has functioned, and what is the way ahead, what is the overall evaluation of National Green Tribunal in India. So let us understand the historic backdrop in which National Green Tribunal was made. So it is already given in the objectives of National Green Tribunal. So the first objective for which the National Green Tribunal was made or framed, or in the backdrop of which National Green Tribunal was framed, was with respect to our commitment to Stockholm Conference of 1972. So for the new viewers who have recently joined and started preparing with us, let me tell you that this 1972 Stockholm Conference was one of the first conferences with respect to environmental framing the environmental legislations and mandates with respect to environment, right? So the mandate of this was to take appropriate steps for preserving the human environment. Next, the objective mandated by the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development 1992, popularly known as the Rio Earth Summit. Similarly, in Rio Earth Summit, it was said that states shall develop various national laws. It was mandated for the states to develop national laws with respect to liabilities and damages caused by environmental degradation. So in one sense, states were being, for example, state of India, state of Myanmar, so on and forth, they were being kind of pressurized, being obligated by the international agencies that you must take appropriate action, right? So this was the second backdrop. And if you have been following the DNS for past couple of months, if you remember that we have already discussed the evolution of environmental governance and environmental jurisprudence. And if you might remember, we had discussed various cases, for example, MC Mehta case and rural litigation and entitlement Kendra versus state. These two cases are very landmark case in the environmental jurisprudence. In these cases, it was recognized that right to clean environment is part of right to life under Article 21. So you see, on one side, we are being obligated, we are being mandated by the international organizations and agencies to enforce certain legislation with respect to environment, and then protecting the environment and then compensating because of the loss. And second, Supreme Court had already recognized it as a part of fundamental right under Article 21. So under this backdrop, National Green Tribunal came into action in 2010. Now let us discuss the features of NGT Act, right? So as per NGT Act, it is a quasi judicial body and a statutory body. What is the meaning of quasi judicial body? Quasi judicial body means a body which can carry out semi judicial functions. And then what is the meaning of a statutory body? Statutory body is a body which is framed out of a statute or a legislation, right? So in this context, what is the relevant statute? The relevant statute is with respect to NGT Act, right? Then it specializes, it is a specialized tribunal, pardon, it is a specialized tribunal for environmental matters. And what it does is that it tries to speedily dispose of cases with respect to environmental disputes and losses within a set framework of 6 months. Then the next feature is with respect to it ensures the enforcement of any legal right with respect to environment. And lastly, it has one principal bench that is located in New Delhi, and then it has got 4 regional benches. First one being at Bhopal, second one being at Pune, third one being at Kolkata, and fourth one being at Chennai. So this is the organizational structure of National Green Tribunal. Now let us try to come to composition. All these matters apart, composition is primarily important for a prelims examination, and rest of the analysis is important with respect to your mains examination. So it is composed of 3 kind of officials. First one being a chairperson. Any judge of Supreme Court or a Chief Justice of High Court of competence can be made a chairperson of this body. Next, there are judicial members. Minimum of 10 and maximum of 20 judicial members can be there, right? So the organization is that there is a chairman at the top, and apart from that there are judicial members, and then there are expert members. So 10 to 20 judicial members can be there, and there can be expert members, minimum of 10 and a maximum of 20, right? So this is the organizational structure of National Green Tribunal. Now let us understand what have been the various achievements of this particular body, and what are the challenges being faced by the particular body. So in Praful Samantare case, it is a very famous case with respect to this MNC. If you might be knowing about it, it was a Korean multinational company that is by the name of POSCO, right? So POSCO had acquired certain land disproportionate to the requirement of land in the state of Odisha, right? So what happened, that this particular gentleman filed a case and a temporary ban was laid on the POSCO plant. What was the primary contention? That greenfield land is being misutilized for a particular mining project, and then there is no adequate compensation because the company was cutting betel nut trees and the company was not able to provide adequate compensation to various tribes living over there. Then in Almitra Patel case, this particular National Green Tribunal was able to prohibit open burning and landfills were banned. So if you might be remembering, before a while there used to be open burning, not by individuals but by the state itself. The municipal bodies used to burn the waste in the open lands, right? But after this case, NGT instructed to use incinerators, so on and forth. So this was one particular achievement of this body for protecting the environment. Next, in after Uttarakhand tragedy, Alaknanda hydropower company, this particular NGT offered compensation to the victims by mandating the Alaknanda hydropower company to provide compensation to the victims. Then you must be remembering about the diesel vehicles ban in NCR, that diesel vehicles older than 10 years are banned from entering NCR, and from time to time it provides instructions to various individuals that you can only drive Bharat stage 4 vehicles, you can only drive vehicles which are Bharat stage 6, so on and forth. So these norms are set by NGT. Then there was a case with respect to Yamuna floodplains in which Art of Living Foundation carried out a function. So there was a petition in front of National Green Tribunal that this had permanently damaged the ecology of Yamuna. So in this particular case, again NGT imposed a fine on the particular institution. And then there have been recent bans, and as of now I think there is plastic lesser than 120 micron, plastic bags of less than 120 microns are not allowed. And lastly and most recently, NGT has been proactive with respect to stubble burning and associated issues. Now, what are the issues and challenges with respect to this body? What can be done? So, still Wildlife Protection Act and Forest Right Acts, which have a strong overlap with respect to the environmental governance in India, are still kept out of the purview of NGT. Then the next issue is that it still has limited jurisdiction. See, it is not able to take up substantial questions of environment, right? As of now, it is taking procedural questions and procedural cases in which particular individuals and litigants have certain problems. Now, the approach is generally monetary or compensatory in nature. So it is not able to take substantial questions of environment. For example, what could be one example of substantial question of environment? One example can be what should be the overall forest policy of the state, right? For example, that can be one of the substantial questions of jurisprudence. Next, it has not been able to derive a formula based mechanism for compensation. As of now, there is an ad hoc approach on which the cases are decided on the case to case basis, and compensation is again provided on the case to case basis. Then next issue is with respect to it has been confined to community rights, unless, for example, if you see the POSCO case in which community rights were violated, these kind of cases are taken up with very huge expediency, but otherwise individual cases are not taken up with expediency. Then there are issues of lack of argumentation, because earlier what used to be the case? Earlier this issue was reserved by the judiciary. When you come and argue in front of judiciary, there is evolution of understanding, but because of the purview of National Green Tribunal, there is no argumentation in front of court of law. So what happens? Laws as it is are applied, right? For example, as it is said that in our Vedas also we say that vad jayate tattva bodh. For example, it is through debates and discussions that we evolve our understanding. So unless there are no debates around the issues, how will your jurisprudence evolve? How will your understanding with respect to your environment will evolve? So in this particular limitation, it has merely become an oversight body. Then there are issues with respect to excessive delegation. they are readily forming various subcommittees, so on and forth, with respect to violations. So it is again increasing a lot of bureaucracy within the organization. And then the issue around technical members, it has again become a retirement home for retired civil servants. So that is the issue. They are not able to incorporate various environmental law experts, researchers, for example scientists, so on and forth, are not being included in the technical members committee. So it has become a retirement home for retired civil servants. So these are the challenges faced by the National Green Tribunal. But still I would say that this is one of the only tribunals which is functioning with adequate powers and efficiency. So again, the takeaway home thing is that it is still functioning with a large amount of satisfaction, and it should further continue to improve its functioning. So that is it with respect to the National Green Tribunal. Then let us understand the second article. This article was given on page number 6 of Business Line today. What is the context of this article? Ongoing elections and their analysis through various economic models. So the writer has tried to do an analysis of ongoing elections in terms of various economic models. Now we will not go into the details of these various political parties and relationship between it. We will just briefly touch it, and we will move towards the issue of regulatory bodies. So because that is what is important with respect to your civil services examination, right? What is the syllabus mapping? In your GS paper 2, questions have directly been asked on regulatory bodies. We will understand what is the meaning of oligopoly, and we will move towards the regulatory bodies. Now in past there has been, I think 2023, there has been a question that discuss the role of Competition Commission of India in containing the abuse of dominant position by multinational corporations in India, and you have to refer certain decisions, right? So what is the meaning of oligopoly, duopoly, monopoly? Let us understand it briefly. What is the meaning of mono? Mono means single. So monopoly means single company or single manufacturer, right? Similarly, duopoly is when market is captured by two companies, company 1 and company 2. This is duopoly. In the same spirit, if we think, if monopoly is single, duopoly is the rule of 2. What will be the meaning of oligopoly? Oligopoly is a situation in which market is cornered by a few companies, right? So market here is cornered by only a few companies. It is more than 2 but not so much, right? So what happens, what are the consequences of formation of oligopolistic powers? We will understand. So what are the sources of oligopolistic powers? The first one being economies of scale. What is the reason behind the formation of oligopolistic powers? That inadvertently over the period, the rich and powerful companies, they are able to do what? They are able to invest in R&D, research and development, and associated issues, and subsequently they are able to scale up their production. They don't play on the profit margins. They keep their profit margins very low, but they play on the economies of scale. For example, a company, if you have to purchase this pen, the company will not be taking a margin. Let us say this pen is of 10 rupees. The company will not be taking a profit margin of 5 rupees per pen. Instead, what it would try, a large company would say that let me keep the profit margin of, let us say, 1 rupee or even 50 paisa, and let me produce 10,000 units. So that is how they will operate, by increasing the economy of scale. And over the period, when you play on the economies of scale, you become one of the oligopolistic powers. What is the second issue with respect to oligopolistic powers? That they indulge in various malpractices with respect to collusion. Right? What is the meaning of collusion? When two companies come together and set certain undefined understanding that yes, I'll keep the price this way and you will keep the price this way, there is a kind of behind the back handshake between the two companies. So that is again that leads to formation of oligopolistic powers, right? For example, where only 2 or 3 companies will survive in this kind of competition and rest of the companies will perish. The best example to understand this is our telecom sector. Earlier there used to be close to 2000, the era of 2000 to 2010, there used to be various companies. If you might remember the name of companies like Docomo, Aircel, so on and forth, there were various players in the market with respect to telecom sector. But now at present, what we can say is that only couple of companies are gaining profit, and rest of the companies either have either wind up their functioning or they are not able to be profitable right now. So this is one of the examples of oligopolistic market that is being carried out in India with respect to telecom sector. Then another disadvantage or issue with respect to oligopolistic competition is that it creates a barrier to entry. What is the meaning of barrier to entry? It does not allow other people or other companies to come into the market. Why and how? Because if they allow other players to come into the market, their profit margins will reduce. And how do they do it? They'll do it with respect to develop spending a lot on advertisements. They will what will they do? They will services, they will provide better services, so on and forth, so that a person gets cornered with respect to that particular company and does not come into the other company does not come into the competition. And lastly, they have advantage with respect to information. Large companies always have strong informational networks. They invest better on informational research, data analytics, so on and forth, and they have better information advantage with respect to the new companies. Now, what are the outcomes of oligopolies? What are the consequences of having an oligopolistic market? Then it leads to first, formation of cartels. Now you all must be knowing from where this word cartel comes. It comes from Latin America, in which certain groups used to trade in various psychotropic substances, and they had formed various cartels, and they used to corner the market with respect to psychotropic substances. Similarly, for example, a cement company A forms a cartel with cement company B because both two or three of them are dominant players in the market. So none of them would be reducing the price. What is its consequence? The consequence of it is that ultimately the market will suffer and the consumer will suffer. Next argument with respect to this is that it reduces the competition, and since you all know that one of the principles of free market economies is increased level of competition. Then thirdly, it leads to price wars. Sometimes the opposite thing might also happen. There can be reduced competition, but sometimes what happens is that there is an increased competition between companies. What does it lead to? It leads to price war. Now in this particular condition, although the individual or user like you and me, they will benefit, but it is not conducive in the long term. For example, a company by the name of J comes into market and starts providing free data to you, right? What will happen? Company by the name of Aircel, let us say, it will have to wind up its functions in India. Next two issues are with respect to market concentration and inequality. It ultimately leads to market concentration and inequality. Inequality in terms of access to service and entry of new entrants in the market. And lastly, and ultimately, it leads to regulatory challenge for the regulators in India. Now let us understand the Indian institutions to control the oligopolies. So the prime institution in India with respect to controlling the oligopolies, on which the same question was asked in 2023 recently, has been the Competition Commission of India. It is the apex body to deal with respect to the competition in India. It came into being in 2009 after the recommendation of Raghavan committee. Now the three primary functions with respect to this particular commission is, first, that it promotes and sustains the competition. Let us take certain examples to understand how it promotes and sustains competitions. So you must have heard and read that two e-commerce giants like, for example, Amazon and Flipkart. It was said that they had conducted a behind the curtain deal with respect to anti-competition, and that they said that we will maintain the same prices over our portals, right? So what was happening, that it was against the competitive practices that are being standard and that have been followed in India. So in this particular case, Competition Commission intervened and fined both of the companies because they were found in the violation of anti-competition rules, competition rules, right? Then in another case, it took action because took action on Google because it violated its dominant position as one of the prime information providers and search engines in India. Next, it also protects the interests of various consumers. How? You have to take examples, you have to cite examples from various actions that have been done by the body. It in the past has penalized various cement companies. Why? Because again they tried to form cartels and tried to set a commonly agreed price of cement, right? So in this case, there were two companies which had formed a cartel and they were not allowing others to manipulate the price, right? So in this case also, Competition Commission of India took appropriate action, and then from time to time it carries out various awareness campaigns in India. Lastly, the third aspect is that it ensures freedom of trade in market. Why? How? By dispute resolution and providing a strong regulatory side, because its decisions are binding in nature. Now let us understand what are the various challenges and what is the way forward for this body. So what are the challenges? First one being that digital economy oversight. As you know, that competition laws are very recent, and yet because the nature of competition is evolving, the body needs to evolve, right? Again, it has to evolve with the practices with respect to various digital economies and digital platforms, because the trade is getting globalized. And in this global environment, you have to strategize with respect to the competition practices from various countries and various organizations, right? Then there is a issue with respect to pendency of cases that needs to be resolved. Earlier, this particular job was done by a National Anti-Profiteering Authority, which was later on dissolved. So again, this body has the burden of dealing with the leftover cases of National Anti-Profiteering Authority. And then lastly, the challenge is that the global antitrust technology law, right? This needs to be taken care by this particular body. With this, let us move on to the prelims part. So the context of this first article is the news given on page number 12 of today's The Hindu newspaper. What is the context? Interpol or International Police has issued a blue collar notice against a sitting MP of India, that is Prajwal Revanna, right? So you can go through you must have gone through the details. Let us understand about the body, key details about the body, and then try to solve a MCQ on this. What are the key facts associated with the body? This particular body by the name of Interpol was established in 1956, and it was a successor to an organization known as ICPC. It is headquartered in Lyon, that is name of a city in France. Then it works on the principle of General Assembly, in which all the member countries are given one country, one vote. That means India has also got one vote, Pakistan also has got one vote. So there is universal voting. Whoever is the member gets to vote, and each member has got the power of only one vote. Again, it is the only organization in the world which has got expertise to share police information globally. So why do you think that this particular agency was able to issue certain kind of notice with respect to the MP? Because it has got its informational network and competency with respect to various with respect to coordination between various countries when it comes to international fugitives, right? It issues 8 types of notices, and then funding is done by 2 mechanisms. First one being by the members. For example, India is a member, so India will have to mandatorily contribute certain sum to the organization. Second is voluntary. Various organizations, international organizations, can contribute funds to the Interpol as well. Now you must remember one fact, that India is one of the founding members of Interpol first, and which is the coordinating agency when it comes to coordination between Interpol and Indian authorities. It is given in the newspaper itself that CBI is the coordinating agencies between Interpol and the government of India. Now, as you can see in the image, that it offers 8 types of notices, right? So the purple notice is with respect to understanding the modus operandi of various fugitives or various nefarious organizations. It again, these notices increase in order of intensity in which the crime has been committed. So as of now, blue corner notice has been issued in context of the sitting MP, and the most severe category is red corner notice, in which a person who is being wanted in various countries is issued red corner notice, and then this particular person needs to be apprehended as soon as possible. So this is all with respect to this. Let us try to solve one PYQ and practice question. So in the past, although direct question has not been asked on Interpol, But direct question on United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, has been asked. So you try to solve this particular MCQ and let us try to do the practice question. With reference to International Criminal Police Organization, popularly known as Interpol, consider the following statements. It is an intergovernmental organization established to facilitate worldwide police cooperation and crime control. Yes, this statement appears to be correct. Okay. India is one of its founding members. So as per our discussion, India is the one of the founding members. So this again statement is correct. Each of the member countries pay statutory contribution. Statutory contribution. What is the meaning of word statutory here? Statutory means whatever that is written in the statute or legislation, right? So statutory contribution means mandatory contribution. Okay. So which is obligatory in nature to Interpol every year. Yes, we already discussed funding. So one is the funding, that is statutory funding done by every member, and then the other kind of funding is the one done by, let us say, it can be done by international NGOs, civil society organizations, so on and forth. So the second one being voluntary contribution. And lastly, Interpol follows the principle of one country, one vote. This also is true. It works on the principle of universal franchise. That means that every country which is member of Interpol gets to vote. There is no discrimination based on membership. Secondly, that each country has got one unit of vote. So all the four statements are correct. Now let us understand another very interesting body that is PM, Economic Advisory Council. So this article is not important. This is important with respect to only your prelims examination. UPSC has consistently been asking about various bodies, their functions, their mandate, what kind of body it is. They have been consistently asking, and in the same spirit, we found a news on page number 14 of today's newspaper. What is the news? That findings of EACPM, that is Economic Advisory Council of Prime Minister of India, working paper being misreported, says a think tank. Okay, so the finding of the body is not important per se, but for our discussion, PMEAC is important. Let us understand key facts about the Prime Minister Economic Advisory Council. So it was constituted to provide advice on economic and associated issues to the Prime Minister of India. Then what is the nature of this body? Is it a constitutional body? Is it a statutory body? Has it got any legal backing? So the answer is no. It is neither a constitutional body nor a statutory body, and also it is not even a permanent body, right? It is just an independent body which is constituted to provide economic advice with respect to the general economy of the country, economic health of the country, and provide research papers to the government as and when asked. Then what is the membership of this body? The membership comprises of a chairman and several full-time and part-time members. So you see, had it been a statutory body, it would have been written in the statute that this is the minimum number of members that are to be constituted in this particular body. So since it is neither a constitutional nor a statutory or any kind of body with a legal backing, it hasn't got any kind of permanent structure. Now you tell me, who is the present chairperson of this particular body in the comment section. What is the term of reference for this body? Basically, what does this particular body do? It analyzes any kind of issue, especially in terms of economy, and provides advice to the Prime Minister in that particular context, right? Then it also addresses issues of microeconomic importance, microeconomic as well as macroeconomic, general economy, issues of general economy to the Prime Minister. This advice or this research can be either carried out suo motu, or suo motu means on its own, and secondly, on the special request of Prime Minister. Yes, for example, Prime Minister of India requests the PMEAC about making certain particular policy. So they Prime Minister can ask the PMEAC that what is going to be the economic impact of, let us say, one particular policy. So PMEAC is bound to give advice to the Prime Minister and then attending any other task that the Prime Minister assigns to it. Basically, it carries out various economics research functions. So based on the understanding, let us try to solve MCQs. In past, there has been a MCQ on a body associated with general economy of India, that is Fiscal Financial Stability and Development Council, FSDC, right? The answer was C. Now let us try to solve one practice MCQ with reference to Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister. Consider the following statements. It is a statutory body constituted to give advice on economics and related issues to Prime Minister. It is a body to give advice on economics and associated issues to Prime Minister. Yes, this statement is correct. However, it is a statutory body. This statement is incorrect. Is it a statutory body? No. Has it got any statutory backing? No. For example, if you see National Green Tribunal, you will be clearly remembering that NGT is clearly a statutory body because it derives NGT derives its powers from statute, that is NGT Act. But does this body derives its powers and functions from particular act? No. So statement 1 is incorrect. The body can present its views on addressing issues of macroeconomic importance only on reference from Prime Minister. Is it correct? Does it provide reference only, advice only on the reference to Prime Minister? No, it can provide advice suo motu also. Basically, this term suo motu means on its own, right? So it can provide the advice to Prime Minister on its own. It can carry out the research. For example, this particular paper, this was carried out as a suo motu research on particular matter, and the advice was presented from which the news has been framed. So which of the statements are correct? Select the correct answers given below. Neither one nor two, both are incorrect. The third prelims article that we have taken is with respect to Periyar River. What gave us inspiration for making this article was an image that was present on page number 11 of today's The Hindu newspaper. What does the photograph says? That ecotourism center near Periyar River has been witnessing various tourists because of heat, right? Now let us understand the Periyar River in this particular context, and not just Periyar River. Let us understand the overall drainage system of state of Kerala in this context. So in front of you on the screen, there is a photograph which contains various rivers and lakes, associated in the state of Kerala, and they have been arranged in a chronological way from south to north. So you must keep the names of these various rivers and lakes in mind. The first one being Nayyar Lake, second one being Karmana Lake, third one being Vamanapuranam River, fourth is Ithikara River, Ashtaimudi Lake. All these lakes and rivers are important. Kindly take the screenshot and remember the details of these particular lakes. Now on the 14th number, it is mentioned Periyar River. Let us see in the map where is number 14. Here it is number 14. Okay, so let us understand brief facts about the Periyar River. It originates in Western Ghats. The name of the peak around which it originates is Shivgiri Peak, located in Idukki district of Kerala. It has a course of 244 kilometer, and as you can even see clearly in the map that it is the longest river in the state of Kerala. Okay, so this is the course, 244 kilometer. It is the longest river of Kerala. What are the various tributaries of this river? Mulayar, Cheruthoni, Perinjakutti. All these three are the various small tributaries of this river. Now, why is it important? It is important. It has got its geographical and economic importance with respect to irrigation and household use of water in Kerala, northern Kerala, and then again its water is used for hydroelectric production. First, there are two prominent dams built on this particular river. First one being Idukki Dam, and second one is Periyar Dam. And if you follow with us for a definite amount of time, you will keep on listening. This information is especially important for the new students who are joining us, that Periyar Dam is always in controversy between Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and again and again it appears as a part of news. Then, and the next aspect is with respect to tourism. Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary and Periyar Tiger Reserve are located within the vicinity of this particular river. This river passes through a thick forest in which Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary and Periyar Tiger Reserve have been created as protected areas, and it supports a diverse ecosystem in which elephants, tigers, and various bird species and animal species are found. Based on our understanding, let us try to solve one MCQ. In past, there has been a question on rivers originating on the eastern ghats of the country, and on the similar lines we have framed a practice question. Consider the following rivers: Periyar, Bharatpuzha, Chaliyar, and Pamba. How many of the above rivers flow through Kerala? So if you have read the map correctly, if you have understood the topic correctly, all the four rivers pass through the state of Kerala. Moving on to the fourth article. The fourth article is inspired by a news on Business Line that is given on page number 3. The news is associated with a concept called as government securities. Now, what is the context of this news? That RBI has recently accepted the offer of buying back government securities worth 10,513 crores. Right. So in the same context, let us understand what is the concept of government securities. So let us start by questioning ourselves. Government needs money. Okay. Government needs money. Why does the government need money? To perform various functions, for example, social sector spending, so on and forth. In order to carry out various functions, government tries to borrow the money from the market also, right? Once the government borrows the money, it borrows in terms of debt securities, right? There are two kinds of debt securities that are found in India. The first one is treasury bills, and the second one is government securities. So what are government securities? Government securities are low risk sovereign guaranteed bonds with assured interest paid every 6 months, and this makes their trading very liquid in nature. So basically these are the government issued bonds for borrowing money from the market. Now, what is the distinction between treasury bills and government securities? Treasury bills are zero coupon securities. That means they provide no interest rate, right? So the question might arise in the mind of students that if it does not provide any kind of interest rate, why will an individual purchase a treasury bill, right? So for example, you have purchased a treasury bill on which the face value is mentioned 1000 rupees. After a while, for example, it is issued only for either 91 days, 182 days, or any number of days that must be lesser than 364 days or 1 year, right? So if a particular you have gone to the market and purchased a treasury bill, right, of 1000 rupees, and you know that you are not going to have any kind of interest on the treasury bill, why would you buy? You would buy because once you go to buy, you can buy this particular treasury bill only in, let us say, 900 rupees, that is lesser than the mark price. And after a while, when you return it, let us say after 91 days, you go and try to resell this particular treasury bill, you will get 1000 rupees. So the difference is your gain. It is its purchasing price is lesser than the marked price. Okay, so the difference is the gain for the individual. However, in the case of government securities, they carry a fixed number of floating coupons. That is, what is the meaning of floating coupon here? That basically means the percentage of gain every 6 months you can make, right? So these government securities are offered for a period of minimum of 5 years to maximum of, for example, 40 years. And on these government securities, you will get a assured percentage of gain every 6 months. For example, if it is written that you will get an assured gain of 2% every 6 months, right, or 5% every 6 months, you will get a return of 5% every 6 months on the face value of the government security. Now earlier, retail investors, for example, who can be a retail investor? You and me, individuals are retail investors, right? Those who purchase single units were not allowed to purchase government securities. However, recently in 2022, government has allowed the purchase of government securities by the retail investors as well. Based on the above information, let us try to solve the MCQ. In past, however, there has been no direct question on the concept of government securities, but it was mentioned in one of the options of a question that was given in 2020. The answer was B. The question was based on basically foreign direct investment. Now let us try to solve a practice question. Which of the following statements about the securities issued by the government is or are correct? G-Secs are zero coupon bonds issued at a discounted value. Now we understood two debt instruments. First one was treasury bills and second one was government securities. So it is the feature of treasury bills which have been confused with the government securities over here. So treasury bills are the ones which can be considered as zero coupon bonds and are issued at a discounted value. Next, retail investors cannot participate in the primary markets of G-Secs. Okay, so as we understood recently that government has allowed individual or retail investors to participate in the government securities market. So statement 1 is incorrect because this particular feature that zero coupon bonds issued at a discounted value, this is the feature of treasury bills, not G-Secs, right? And then second one is that retail investors are also allowed as of now. So both of these are incorrect and the answer is neither one nor two. Lastly, we move on to the next MCQ. The question is inspired by a news that was given on Indian Express page number 1. What is the headline? Cook Islands, a tiny nation at the vanguard of mining ocean floor. So if you have been following the DNS regularly, we mentioned one of the treaties with respect to nuclear disarmament in the DNS that was conducted in previous month. If you have been following the DNS, kindly comment in the comment section that what was that particular treaty. Why is that treaty important here? That the island on which the treaty was named, that particular island is part of Cook Islands, right? Now the context of this news is that Cook Island is carrying out excessive mining of polymetallic nodules that are being mined from the oceanic floor. For our understanding, let us understand what is the meaning of polymetallic nodules and an authority that is known as International Seabed Authority in that particular context. Now again, poly means many or multiple. Metallic means made up of metal, and nodules means something of this size. So this is an actual photograph of polymetallic nodules. These particular polymetallic nodules were discovered in 19th century in Kara Sea, that is Arctic Ocean region of Serbia, that is Russia. Okay, what are these polymetallic nodules? These are nodules which have concentric layers of iron and magnesium hydroxide. So it is a nodule in which there are concentric layers of iron, manganese oxide. And on these concentric layers over the period, various other minerals like cobalt, zinc, copper, so on and forth, they get attached and take the shape of polymetallic nodules. Okay, so this is the characteristic feature of this particular polymetallic nodule. They are, where are they formed? See, if it is a seabed, let me take an example of, if this is land, right? This is slope of the ocean, this is land, and these are called as abyssal plains, the long lengthy plains that are formed in the deep stretches of ocean. And then again, the depth here is over 4,000 to 6,000 meters. So it is that deep that these polymetallic nodules are formed over the period, over the long periods, right? So these are the facts with respect to polymetallic nodules, and Cook Island is one of the countries which is mining these nodules. Why are these people mining these nodules? The reason being that these metals are considered as rare, some of these metals are considered as rare earth minerals, and these are considered as very much important when it comes to powering the future technologies, for example EVs, right? Now, another subsequently important topic over here is an institution by the name of International Seabed Authority. It is an autonomous organization which is within the United Nations system. The location of this organization is at Kingston, Jamaica. That is located in between northern and southern Americas. All parties of UNCLOS, again UNCLOS was one of the questions we will see later on, that UPSC has already asked a question on UNCLOS, are by default members of International Seabed Authority as well. And now what are the functions? The functions are to regulate the exploration of deep seabed minerals. So this is one of the functions of International Seabed Authority, apart from certain other functions which are not relevant for our discussion in this particular context. So this is how these polymetallic nodules look like, and this is the global distribution of polymetallic nodules as published by the International Seabed Authority. And you can clearly see these regions are considered as very rich, and this is where Cook Island is located. So Cook Island is basically located over here only, right? So Pacific Ocean is considered as very rich in the deposits of polymetallic nodules. Apart from the Pacific Ocean, some parts of the Mediterranean as well are considered as rich in polymetallic nodules. And unfortunately for us, no large deposits of polymetallic nodules. No large deposits. I'm not saying that there are no deposits at all, but the no excessively large deposits of polymetallic nodules have been found in Indian Ocean as of yet. Based on our understanding, we will solve two MCQs. There has been a past question on United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas. As I already told you, UNCLOS पे question आ चुका है, right? So the answer was here, and let us try to solve a practice question. In the context of polymetallic nodules, consider the following statements. First, these nodules are primarily composed of manganese, iron, nickel, and cobalt. Yes, this statement appears to be correct. Let us see other statements. Polymetallic nodules are found on the seabed, particularly in abyssal plains. Yes, this statement is again correct. The International Seabed Authority regulates the exploration and exploitation. Both it regulates first exploration of these minerals and again exploitation of deep seabed minerals. Is it correct? Yes, one of the mandates or functions of this particular body is to conduct or regulate the exploration of deep seabed minerals. So based on the information that we just learned, how many of the statements are correct? So all three are correct. With this, we conclude the session for today. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, please hit the like button, and also recommend to subscribe this channel to your younger friends, siblings who have just started to prepare for civil services examination. With this, I take your leave and expect to meet you soon. Have a good evening.